Namaste. This is Timothy Halloran, and we are at the front of a brand new year. So today is the final day of 2015, and tomorrow at midnight is the first day of 2016, January 1st. So although astrologically this doesn't really commemorate anything significant for so many people, we are of course celebrating a new year, and for those who are into numbers, we are of course moving from a 5 to a 6. And yet there is something astrologically significant that is happening at this time. And in fact, it's really beginning now and happening through the first third of 2016. And what we are seeing, regardless of whatever branch of astrology you practice, whether it be Western or traditional or modern or Eastern, we see Jupiter with the moon's north node, really from now until the end of July 2016. So a week from now, around January 9th, Jupiter turns retrograde and hangs out with the moon's north node through the next 3 months. Then we have a solar eclipse that is opposite to Jupiter. And then June, around the summer solstice, we have Jupiter passing the moon's node again. So from now through July, we have Jupiter hanging out with the moon's north node. And what is this? Regardless of any astrology, whether it's Eastern, Western, and Vedic astrology, the moon's north node is Rahu. And Jupiter is, of course, called Guru. So what is this Rahu, Guru? Rahu, the dragon's head, the moon's north node, is the pointer into the future. It's what is needed at this time. It is our evolutionary direction. It is the necessary course to achieve good balance, good health, and good harmony. And with Jupiter being there with the moon's north node, Jupiter illuminates. Jupiter is this light, wisdom of consciousness, of awareness. And so, Jupiter being with the moon's north node, there is conscious awareness which is coming into us at this time. And this is happening in the sign of Virgo. And Virgo is this naturally hypersensitive, somewhat hypercritical sign where we start also becoming aware of more of the picture, of little bits and pieces, missing links, bits of the puzzle. So of course this moon's north node in Jupiter, the first third of 2016, is significant. This is significant because we are having more conscious awareness imparted into particular places where we might have overlooked before. So there is an increase of light, there is an increase of awareness, and this is happening in our bodies. This is happening in how we manage our own health, which of course extends not just through our bodily health, but our maintenance of routines, how we manage our energy throughout the day, how we manage our thoughts, how we manage the way we function together. 2016 is a year of us figuring out the little facets that need adjustments, the little baby steps in different directions for us to achieve a new level of perfection, a greater foundation, which of course makes us more capable human beings. And this can happen on virtually every level of consciousness. We can become aware of ourselves in our bodies, in our social circles, in our life. And of course, many astrologers, and myself included, we're going to be focusing on the fact that Jupiter is going to oppose Saturn through 2016, oppose Chiron, and oppose Neptune, square Saturn throughout 2016, which also has to do with the fundamental redirecting and purifying of our own core beliefs as we realize what core beliefs, what subconscious programming may have existed in ourselves within our DNA that may have prevented us from operating in a more healthy, more functionable, more appropriately secure and operating at our maximum potential type of way. So I've heard various people talk about, guru, the word guru, which is the Vedic word for Jupiter, as being a somewhat patriarchal term, because in Sanskrit, guru means heavy. But in my own personal experience and opinion, it's an appropriate term. Because although Jupiter is really light that illuminates, it is the conscious awareness of what is. It is sort of our mapped out territory, our sort of intuitive awareness of what is surrounding us. Well, the more awareness that is there, it's that it can become more condensed and more condensed. And as we evolve, we become more aware. Our own conscious awareness increases, which of course means that we become more and more and more aware of various levels and dimensions of being, different levels of our own living. So we're not just aware of our thoughts, we're aware of our feelings, we're aware of our bodily functions, we're aware of the microcosm and the macrocosm as our overall consciousness increases. And this can happen in a more and more condensed way, and we illuminate more and more light, and it does become very powerful. And so I think this word of heavy can be appropriate in that regard. And with this Jupiter, Moon's north node in Virgo, yes, in that regard, there is this element of heaviness that can be there, as we have a very Saturn-centric year of 2016, which is also a very practical, heavy sign in terms of us functioning and getting our stuff together in a way that works in the real world. And again, throughout 2016, we are confronting subliminal messages, subconscious beliefs, coming from our culture, coming from our own DNA, that prevents us from realizing greater levels of consciousness. And so Virgo is this sign that does get regarded as critical. It does get seen as somewhat heavy sometimes, because Virgo is what makes us aware of not just the big picture point of view, but also the fine details. And yet Jupiter is the big picture point of view. So what are we seeing here is that the fine details of our life and the big picture of the macrocosm is, of course, connected. So this Moon's north node with Jupiter through the next 4 months is the opportunity for us to integrate what we have been learning physically, for us to see, for us to experience physically, tangibly, the results of our own learning. And as we said, this can happen because as our overall consciousness, our conscious awareness, the light of us being aware increases, we become more and more aware of so many subtler levels and dimensions of being. And so this is the time for us to make our life a ritual for self-improvement. This is a year where we are coming in contact with the tools, the methods, the routines, the medicines that are thoroughly revolutionary in improving our lives in order to make us more capable human beings, which therefore makes us more suitable to be able to heal and raise up other people. So it's very, very interesting that we have all of this attention and illumination and expansion happening in the sign of Virgo, because this is a sign that naturally does not shies away from attention and does not always like to be inflated and looked at. This is a part of ourself that maybe we have not looked at a long time. These are parts of ourselves that may have been regarded as lesser important or lesser than. And we are realizing the importance of these parts of ourself, the little tiny details, the little backdoor ways that we can fix ourselves. I mean, let's talk about some examples here. There's this phenomenon called tapping. You tap on your body and you say some phrases in your head. You can do amazing things in terms of releasing emotions, in terms of releasing physical pain. What's going on for me personally is I'm going to start doing Rolfing in a couple weeks, and that's hopefully going to readjust my hips. As I realized within the last couple weeks, Jupiter on the North Node, that my hips actually displaced themselves years ago and have been causing me years of subconscious, unconscious pain that I did not even realize was happening from this displacement. This is the kind of stuff that can be going on at this time. And what happens furthermore when I realign my hip, when we do these little adjustments that previously we didn't even know was a thing, is really huge reactions, really huge results. All of this past stuff gets released and removed. We are remembering more of our actual core role here as we learn how to better care for ourselves and others. And care for ourselves and others may be a lot less separate than we had been previously led to believe. Many of these core limiting beliefs are repressing us from caring for ourselves because we believe that it's selfish. And if I take care of myself and focus on my health and my schedule and my regiment, well then I'm going to be less capable of helping others because I'm so much more selfish and focusing on my comfort, etc. But when we actually take the analogy of the fact that similarly to our cells and the various organisms and probiotic organisms within our body are separate individual organisms, and yet they operate within a whole, we are a part of a greater macrocosm. So as we take care of ourselves, we're actually better capable of taking care of other people. And as we take care of other people, we are of course actually taking care of ourselves. There is a part of ourself that needs to help other people, that needs to feel this function of service to others. I am offering my gifts, my talents, my power in a way that is actually productive and usable and produces tangible results. I feel it healing and uplifting other people. What and who can live without needing to feel that we are in some way a part of the overall healing and upliftment of other people, which connects us to the macrocosm? But it's very, very interesting how this happens once again, because we have to give ourselves permission to explore some of these areas that might have been forgotten, might have been set aside in the past. So for example, we're going to have Jupiter opposite to Chiron in March, opposite to a solar eclipse in Pisces, March 8th. And there is this healing of our core spiritual identity that is happening simultaneously as we shift and adjust our overall perspective of how we see ourselves, of how we see our life, of how we therefore operate and function as ourselves in our life. And part of this is the healing and restoration of our divine purpose, our divine role as being spiritual beings that are inherently innocent, through exploring alternative tools, alternative methods, alternative medicines, alternative rituals and routines that are new, that are different, or revivals of the past, of ancient and forgotten rituals and tools and dimensions that got long suppressed. And so there is this magician quality with the moon's north node and Jupiter in Virgo, which is we get to explore newer alternative methods such as energy healing, such as acupuncture, and these things, these seem at first, ooh, superstitious, oh, Eastern medicine, how foreign and how exotic and how taboo. And when we actually start to practice and integrate these things, we of course realize my own nature. This isn't some superstitious, occult, creepy, practicing in basements type of thing. That has happened as a result of thousands of years of suppression, coming from collective belief systems that have said that's out of bounds, that's not okay, get away from that. But when we reintegrate these parts of ourselves, when we re-welcome these various methods, tools, healing, they even considered herbal healing witchcraft. What the hell are we supposed to do to help ourselves on this planet when we're not allowing ourselves to explore herbs? And now the collective consensus belief is that herbal medicine doesn't work because we have not tried it for so long, we have forgotten that it exists in the first place. So Jupiter is with the moon's north node within 7 degrees now through the end of July. We have all of this room of opportunity for us to explore, for us to experiment, and for us to enlighten ourselves as to what could possibly exist in terms of new perspectives, new ways of viewing and evaluating our body and energy systems, of managing our time, of managing how we sleep. Virgo is having to divide boundaries where necessary. When we get overly Pisces in the Pisces age, we have to think we have to give all our energy to everybody all the time, and everybody around us has to be happy first in order for us to survive. But when we draw necessary boundaries that allow us to kind of come into our life in order for us to see, is this working? Is this actually functioning? Oh, well, I've been so distracted with my spiritual journey and making sure the family is happy and making sure that everybody's astrology is done that I am overlooking the fact that I'm in a near constant back pain. Virgo can cause crises, but only in the way that crises is necessary to make us aware of the source of an issue. The same way the crisis of a dam breaking only happens when the dam is built. And then the water has to reach a certain amount of time for it to burst through. So these crises makes us aware of the things that are building up in us. And we are now increasing our own conscious light so that way we can be aware of the things that build up before the dam has to burst. So this year ahead of us, although we sort of have the practical, critical, we're going into this year expecting and anticipating a lot of self-improvement. A lot is going to be learned that changes and thoroughly revolutionized our ways of seeing and viewing things in the past, which should hopefully collectively lead to the reorganization of our governments, of systems we can hope and pray. But for ourselves, in the meantime, this is really the opportunity for us to seize the day in terms of our own self-care, in terms of us building and increasing our awareness of subtle things. Because these little subtle things do add up, and they do weigh us down, and they do prevent us from evolving and healing into a being that we previously did not even give ourselves permission to be. So Jupiter on the North Node is, with Saturn and Neptune, we're coming in contact with core limiting beliefs. But these core limiting beliefs can also have a lot to do with our own upper limits of what we see as being, oh, well, that's too good, I'm feeling too good, this is too much focused on my own self-improvement. And as long as we are recycling how good self-improvement feels to us, to other people, we have to be aware that we want to be raising the bar of our own limits, of how good we can feel, of how aware we can be, of how much we can heal ourselves and each other, of how much we can heal and uplift the world around us. We need to get rid of the limits of what is possible in terms of the experiences of bliss, of enlightenment that is there for us to have naturally, not because we have to do something right or wrong or pass some test to get there, but because we are naturally always moving in the direction of more light, more awareness, more ways of self-improving, more tools, more technology. We are always moving in that direction. So long as we remove the blockages, the limitations, the beliefs that prevent that nature from automatically flowing through us. So once again, we take it back to the bare, minimal, fundamental essentials, and we start cleansing our bodies. We start removing sugar from our diet. Maybe we cut down on some of these terms and some of these things that the so-called health freaks have been raging about for years. We try it for ourselves, and we reach a new level of awareness and bliss. And then we suddenly realize why the health nut, why the people rant about very particular small things. Because sometimes it's very particular small things which make a radical amount of difference. So in that light, I hope we can be excited for 2016. I hope that we can be down with the mundane as a way of ironically transcending into the supernatural. And once maybe we can step away from glorifying these spiritual roles and the priest and the priestess, and we just come down into being human being and lover and beloved, and man and man and woman and husband and wife, and we can be in our mundane roles. Wouldn't it be funny if that somehow removed and tore down a wall that allows us to transcend into the supernatural, into being connected all the more with the whole spectrum of nature? I hope to be bringing much of this light to myself throughout 2016. I hope to be improving myself throughout 2016, and I hope to be offering and recycling this self-improvement back to you in 2016. So I'm going to resume my astrology readings at some point soon in 2016, and at the link below you can sign up on a waiting list to get in line for future upcoming readings. That being said, it's always a pleasure to hear from you, so please share any of your own experiences of this foreshadowing that might be happening. The first Jupiter North Node pass is happening January 10th. So this is kind of the opening of the door of this period. And then around the summer solstice, June 20th, Jupiter makes the second pass. So we've got this big spectrum of time where there is this foreshadowing and doors are opening. So let's talk about what we might be sniffing out right now. What do we think is kind of coming in 2016? And then maybe again, we can poll in 6 months and see what's actually happened. I love experimentation, and it is a pleasure to share the experiment of life with you. So much love to you and your beloveds. Namaste.